Hi, I'm Marty Duda, and we've got a good one for you today from Olympia, Washington. Here is Clint Morgan to tell you all about his new album, Troublemaker, a refreshing mix of blues, gospel, and good old rock and roll. And with the help of Kinky Friedman, he may very well be the Ray Stevens of the blues.
I don't get it. It's rough out here. I don't get it, but I gotta keep going.
Congratulations on your new album, Troublemaker.
Well, thank you.
It came out, last Friday?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Was it hot on Friday?
What's that?
Was it hot on Friday?
Yeah, it's who knows? Wait and see what happens. But people seem to like it, so that's good.
Oh, that's cool. What'd you do on Friday? Anything exciting? Did you do a gig or not?
No, I did a gig over the weekend, but I didn't do anything on Friday itself. So
right. And what kind of show did you do?
The private show.
Private show? Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty much what we're doing up here now. Everything's been shut down, and so we're kind of putting our toe back in the water on doing actual shows, but a lot of private stuff.
Right. You got to start somewhere, I guess.
Yeah. What do you do, right?
We've been fairly lucky down here. We got live music happening. Within the borders, so that's always a good thing. So
yeah.
Anyway, it's a pretty cool album. You got some interesting people on it, and some great songs, your own, and a few choice covers.
Yeah.
Anything with Kinky Friedman's got to be cool, right?
Yeah, Kink's a character, that's for sure.
So why don't we start talking about him? Because
okay.
Where else are you going to go from there?
Right.
So how did you get him involved in the record?
Well, I've known Kinky for probably 15 years, something like that.
Right.
And so I had this tune that I thought would be great for him. And so, because it sounded like it was right up his wheelhouse to me. And so I played it for him, and he said, yeah, man, let's do it. So I said, okay. So, I went down, I found a studio close to where he lives. I wanted to make it easy for him.
Yep.
And so I flew down there, and we went to the studio, and I already had the instrumental tracks done in Nashville.
Right.
And so we just did it. And it's good fun.
The song is called "Somebody Put a Walnut on the Farm." Is that right?
A Walmart.
A Walmart. I can't read my writing.
Yeah, a Walmart.
Somebody put a Walmart on a farm. Yeah, there's a self-service express mart at what used to be the barn. Instead of a field with bales of hay, there's a car lot full of Chevrolets. And somebody put a Walmart on the farm.
It's Kink. I think he thought it was great, but you never know for sure. But he wanted to record it, so that
right.
I guess that's a good sign.
So did you record this pre-COVID, or when would the sessions take place?
No, we did everything. Right. I think smacking them. I think. Let me see. I think his song was the last one that we recorded for the album, and I think we did the instrumental tracking last summer.
Right.
Or September or something like that. And then I think I was in Texas, I think March of this year, I guess, or April, maybe, something like that.
Right.
So, things are still all tore up, and so it was kind of a challenge.
Right. But you were able to travel around the country and we're collaborating. Well, that's cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Now, a lot of those tracks on the record, people did not travel, and so that's the beauty of what you can do nowadays. Is that that's why I have so many studios listed on the album as
right.
being involved in this. Is that people would go to their local studio and record, and we do it digitally.
Right. And so your own stuff that you recorded, where did you record yourself? And
so I have a studio here in Washington State. I do vocals here. Right. But since I was doing all the tracking in Nashville, most of the tracks were done in Nashville. And Kevin McHenry, I don't know if you know Kevin or not, he's a ace producer, and so he's got a nice little studio down there, and it was an ISO booth. So I went ahead and did my vocals down there, and then I did a few more vocal things up here after I got them back. I wanted to fix some stuff or whatever and redo some stuff.
Right.
And so I redid, and you can't even tell. It's all, we use the same mics and everything, so it was all the same. Yeah. So most of the basic tracks were done in Nashville.
Gotcha. And you and Kevin are both piano players, right?
Yeah.
So
I usually play my own piano on stuff, and But heck, I mean, Kevin usually, when he produces a tune, he does piano as well, and he's one of the best piano players on earth for this kind of music.
Right.
And so I thought, well, why would I mess with that? You know, and
Right.
so I said, I took kind of a second chair when it came to piano. I play piano on a few of the tunes, and most of the piano on the record is Kevin. So
so
I
the
did
album
something
starts out with a
different.
tune called Hangman Women.
Hangman Woman, yeah.
Again, I can't read my own writing, but
Yeah.
and so there is piano on that. Is that Kevin?
Yeah, that's Kevin. Yes, that's Kevin on that tune.
Very cool.
You're gonna ask me which tune, and I'm not gonna be able to know because I can't remember everything.
That's all right. I
that-
won't make it a test.
Yeah.
But I do love the lyrics on that. Are great. So what inspired you to write that?
You know, most of my songs come to me because I have a line or I hear a line, I write it down, and I just build a song around it. So some guy was talking about how his girlfriend had a heart like a noose. And I thought, holy cow, that's pretty good. So I wrote that down, and I wrote the song around that one line.
Cool.
And so, yeah.
So do you keep a notebook somewhere of all these lines that kind of come
You
up?
know, the funny thing is, I do it on my phone.
Well, there you go.
I'm not a tech guy at all,
Right.
but I find that I usually have my phone with me and something comes to me, and that's where I put stuff. And so I was looking at it this morning. I've got another half a dozen songs done on my phone already. And I've got another 25 ideas, snippets or lines or concepts, that we could use. A guy just sits down for a week and closes the door and turns off the TV. You could write whole nother album. So
Right. Very cool.
yeah.
Now, speaking of collaborations, you got the McCrary sisters on the second track, Go Down Moses, which is spiritual. How'd you get them lined up and roped
Well,
in?
the McCrary's are so, I don't know if you're familiar with them or not, but they're so awesome.
Yeah.
And so they love singing gospel. And so I talked to Kevin, and he's done it and actually knows all these people. I said, look, what are my chances of getting the McCrary's? He said, well, if it's a gospel tune, he says it'll perk them up. And I said, so we told him what I wanted to do. And so and it was, I don't know if you've heard the tune or not, but it's got a lot of different instrumentation, cello and oboe and
I was wondering if it was a flute or a recorder or what was it?
That's an oboe.
Oboe, yeah, okay.
And I told Kevin, I said, I'm hearing a cello on this, and on my previous album, Scofflaw, I'd used a cello, and so I knew a guy, Jim Hoke's son Austin plays a great cello, so I knew he'd be good for the cello. But I said I want an oboe, and he goes, an oboe. He said, I've never recorded an oboe. So I said, well, that's what I'm hearing, and so we had to look around. We found a guy out of LA, I think, that did the oboe part for us. I don't know if they heard it ahead of time or not, but they agreed to sing on the tune because of what we did. And so I wanted to give them solos too. So
no more shall they in bondage torn. Let my people go. Let them come out when Egypt saw. Oh, let my people go.
Go down, Moses, way down in Egypt's land. Tell old Pharaoh, let my people go.
And one of the cool covers that you have is Big River. And after hearing the way you put the album together, it's pretty cool. It has a very live feel. It feels like a jam, like kind of go into what I'd say at the end, and there's horns and all that. How did that one come together?
Tell me what I say. 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 Right.
Well, same thing. I mean, that was all done in studio. I mean, I don't think the horns were added later, but everything else was done there. And so, and I told Kevin I wanted to end up with what I'd say, and he goes, "What?" I go, "Just." I kind of told him the concept, and he said, okay. And so I gave the guys a high sign. They switched, they kept the same groove going, the same beat going. Then we switched into the What I Say riffs, and
right.
I think it turned out pretty good.
I think it did, yeah.
I kind of stole that from Elvis because he did a tune. He did a tune back in the day. He covered, I think it was Guitar Man by Jerry Reed.
Right.
And I think at the end of that, he went into kind of a What I'd Say thing, but it wasn't like overt like mine is. Right. And so I always thought that was really cool. And so I thought, I'm going to do that again. And so, but this time we beefed it up and put the background vocals in and stuff. So, yeah.
Another one I want to touch on is It's Rough Out There. A, it's got a cowbell in it. It sounds like, and B.
No. The cowbell's in I'll Love You If I Want To.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Is that was maybe that's the one I'm talking about then. Again,
yeah.
My notes are illegible.
It's okay.
I'm left-handed, so
it's all right.
Is that the one that mentions the Waffle House?
Now when we're at the Waffle House, you can go powder your nose, climb out the bathroom window, and drive off in the snow. I'll just walk those 8 miles home and kiss you on the cheek. I'll love you if I want to. You're not the boss of me.
Yeah, that's the one.
See, now I'm a displaced American in New Zealand.
Okay,
I've been here a while.
Yeah,
I love hearing
nobody
about
else really knows what a Waffle House is. Heck, nobody from Rochester, New York probably knows what a Waffle House is either.
Well, we had Uncle John's Pancake House.
Oh, did you? Okay. So I meet these guys. It's like, and girls too, females talking about how their relationships are just a wreck, and she's ruining my life, and she's taking all my stuff, and she's burning my house down, and all this stuff. So what are you doing? He goes, well, I love her, man. I love her. I go, so I mean, it's just so crazy and irrational. Of course, it goes into the whole concept of what is love, I guess.
Yeah.
But I thought it was so funny that I thought, okay, I'm gonna write a song about this. These sad sacks that just have all this stuff going on.
Right.
Yeah.
And speaking of food, you got Hungry Man Blues as well. And there's a great, I'm assuming that this is one of those lines that you jotted down. Every time she cooks, it's a burnt offering.
My baby worships me. She treats me like a king. Yes, she does. It's true. She just worships me. She treats me just like a king. I think that's why every time she cooks, it's a burnt offering. Oh, man.
I heard that somewhere, and I thought, I sang it the first time. I listened to play by, so I had to I wanted to make it a little lighter because it's kind of a nasty thing to say, So even though it's about nobody, I thought, I'm going to have all the wives and girlfriends mad at me. So I had to lighten it up a little bit, but
right. Yep.
Pretty funny.
Yep. So, I mean, a lot of what you're doing is kind of rooted in the blues. I mean, you mentioned kind of Lightning Hopkins and Pinetop Perkins and all those guys. So how did you get involved in listening? Where did you start listening to that stuff?
To blues music?
Yeah.
Well, so I was raised on a little farm up in the middle of a little farm town, right? And at the foothills of the Cascade Mountains, and there was no record stores.
Right.
This is back in the 60s, right? And so you bought your records, you listened to the radio, AM, and you listened, and you bought, the local drugstore had a record bin that was, like this.
Yeah.
And that's where you got your music. And so I had never bought a record before. And so I went down and I had some money and I liked music. And so I bought 3 records. I bought Elvis's Gold Records. I bought Merle Haggard, The Fight Inside of Me, and I bought the immortal Mississippi John Hurt.
Nice.
And that's pretty much still my musical. That's pretty much still it.
That's all right.
You throw a gospel record in, and that's pretty much still what I listen to. That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Amplified. But I bought that record because it just looked cool. I had no idea what it was. I thought, wow, that looks cool. I was only like 10 or whatever, 11. I don't know. 12 and so I bought it and then I thought, man, this is really cool. And then fortunately the next blues guy I heard and I saw him in a picture was Lightning Hopkins.
Right.
And he just looked cool.
Right.
I said, anybody that looks this cool has got to sound good.
Right.
And so those were the two first blues guys that I ever remember listening to as far as straight blues. And then they just went on from there. You know, you discover Marty and all those guys from the Delta and whatnot. And you listen to the Hard Again album, you know, from Marty. It's like, holy cow, this is so good.
Yeah.
And you know.
Yeah. See, that's kind of what's lost with the streaming thing. You miss all that, you know.
Well, and this is one of my pet peeves. I mean, I'm a physical product guy.
Yeah.
And it's not just because I'm a dinosaur, which I proudly am, but aside from that, I mean, remember back in the day when you get a record and you couldn't wait, and it came out and you devoured every syllable on the record. And then you pulled it out, and if you're lucky, there were liner notes all over the inserts, and you read that, and you knew everything about that recording, who was producing, who was playing, and all that is lost on these people that now that pay no attention to that stuff. And on top of that, you know, in my book, I mean, the packaging is part of the art.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's part of the art. And so I don't know, I put a lot of time. I mean, my previous album, Scofflaw, I think I had a 25-page book in there. And almost, you know, it was a big deal. And it's a big deal to me to have and you miss all that stuff with streaming. And so, but you know, I'm preaching to the wall because nobody listens, you know.
I'm right with you. Well, I got a wall of records behind me.
Yeah, but you're a dinosaur like me.
That is a fact.
Can't get any of the younger people to listen to this stuff.
Oh, well. So is Troublemaker coming out on vinyl?
No, I'm not that much of a dinosaur.
Okay.
I mean, it probably is not coming out on vinyl. I mean, unless I get a big
expensive thing.
It is, and I you know, as much as I appreciate vinyl and still have all my vinyl, you know, there are limits as to what you can't play a vinyl in a car. It's hard to do.
Yeah. Now you mentioned spirituals and gospel is kind of part of what you do as well. And on the title track on Troublemaker, you kind of slip into a little old rugged cross in there. And so how does that fit in with what you do?
Church kid.
Yeah.
And I don't, you know, I want to make sure my mom, rest her soul, isn't going to be mad at me. So I got to at least have one gospel tune on every record, man.
Good idea.
It's just the right. I got to show respect.
Right. Fair enough.
And you know, and to me, I mean, gospel is like, you know, people say blues is the roots, or bluegrass is the roots, or jazz is the roots. I'm going, well, maybe gospel actually might be the roots.
Yeah.
And so you can't beat gospel for just feeling when it comes to the feel of music. And so I you know, I've always loved gospel music, so I always sing some gospel tunes.
Yeah. Well, work for Little Richard. It's good enough for me.
That's right. That's right.
Now you also have a tune called "The Cover of the Living Blues," which is kind of a rewrite of the cover of the Rolling Stone.
I know. Probably get sued on that one.
I've sung on stages and I've sung on corners and the main deck on the cruise. Well, I'm a born picker, but I can't get my picture on the cover of the Living Blues.
Although it is a parody. well, it's free use. It's parody. You know, I'm hoping Sony, who owns Shel Silverstein's catalog, will buy that. But it's you know. So anyway, I was listening to cover of the Rolling Stone, and you know, I got to think, wait a minute. You know, nobody's ever back in the 70s. Buck Owens had a version cover of the Music City News that he did, and I thought, okay, that's the country version, but where's the blues version?
Right.
And so, you know, I listened to syllables and they fit. I go, oh, well, cool, you know. And so I wrote this tune, and then I thought, who am I going to get to sing on it? And you know, who's better than than Watermelon Slim, you know? Holy cow! And Bob is a friend, and he said he thought it was fun. He said he'd take a verse.
And that's Bob Margolin.
Bob Margolin, Steady Rolling Bob Margolin. Yeah, I'm on the board of the Pine Top Perkins Foundation. He's a fellow board member. He played the guitar for Muddy in the 70s. He was with Muddy for years.
Right.
And so he's a good guy, and he's a blues icon basically. Gotcha. And everybody knows Slim. I mean, who's better than Slim at interpreting the songs? As a matter of fact, his song was so good, I put it on as a bonus track, just a solo version, because it sounds so good. So anyway, yeah. But it's a parody. I mean, I pay Shel or pay Sony, and so I'm not claiming that I wrote the thing. I mean, I did the adaptation, but that's it. Hopefully that's not gonna make anybody mad. Right. Everybody seems to get a kick out of the tune. So if
definitely.
They got a sense of humor at all, they're not going to get mad about it. So
you'd like to think so. If it works for Weird Al,
especially if you're representing Shel Silverstein, whose whole thing was making fun of stuff.
Exactly.
So it's like, really?
Yep. Now, one other one I want to just touch on is She Take My Money, which starts out with a killer Chuck Berry riff. I mean, and then
I know
saxophone in there and piano and blah blah.
Yeah,
blah.
I know it's just an old rock and roll tune, which is one of my other things is old rockabilly rock and roll. I always got to have at least one rockabilly rock and roll tune.
My money, she take my money, she take my money, Lord, she take my money.
On the previous record, it was I Love Robin Banks, and this one, She Take My Money. So yeah, I don't know what made me think of it. I mean, none of these are autobiographical; they're all just songs, and so
right.
I just thought it was funny. So yeah.
So do you have a band? Are there plans to perform these live, or
I do not currently have a band. Everything fell apart when COVID happened. Everybody went out, they're all ringing up a sale somewhere or something to buy beans,
Yep.
And so right now I don't have a band. I'm just playing with other guys, but I've been thinking, okay, it's time to start cranking this thing up and see what we're going to do with it. So that's kind of
these songs sound like they'd be fun to play live.
Well, yeah, I mean, so I got a blues friend. He says, "What are you trying to be, the Ray Stevens of the blues?" And I guess a guy. I said, a guy can do worse than that.
Absolutely, Guitarzan is a great song.
I said, no, there's some serious stuff on here too. I try to mix it up, serious and funny stuff, but you got to have both. And so some of these songs are pretty. I mean, Hurricane Harvey is pretty serious, and so is Echoes. Yes. They're both very serious tunes.
Yeah, definitely.
So I don't know. Try it.
Whatever
comes. The good thing, I just and it's hard because people don't know how to pigeonhole the music either. Which is a problem for airplay because they're so strictly formatted.
Right.
And it's hard, but I'm the kind of guy, I don't care. I'm just gonna do what I want to do and whatever. And so, and I, it's a mixture of blues and rock and roll and gospel and country and I don't know what you call it.
All the good stuff.
Yeah, all the good stuff.
So what are you gonna do next? Have you thought about it?
I don't know. I got a bunch of tunes written, but I'm not sure. I'm just gonna wait and see. It's it was I think my last record was 2016. This one has been ready for a while, but my previous my previous producer was Kevin Johnson. I seem to like Kevin's, and I was going to have him do this one as well. And right as we were getting ready to go, he decided to quit the business and go into the ministry.
Oh dear.
Okay, so
speaking of Little Richard.
Yeah, no kidding. So I was back at square one trying to figure out, okay, what happens now? And so it took me a while, but this record's been ready to go for a while. Cool. So which means in the meantime I've been writing new stuff, so hopefully it won't be as long before the next one comes out.
Excellent. That sounds like fun.
Yeah, I mean, people think, and I know people that spend 4, 5, 6 years between every record, and which I respect because they're crafting their thing. But then I think of Frank Sinatra, who was whamming out in the 50s 2 a year with Nelson Riddle, and it's like they're all classics. Yeah. So I don't know,
So very cool. And have you been to New Zealand? Have you ever been down here?
I have never been. I've got a good friend that goes there a couple times a year, loves it there.
Yeah, it's nice.
And I hear you can go hunting on the same day you go to the beach.
Pretty
So
much.
it's like
There's
it's
beach
like,
everywhere.
wow. Yeah.
It's hard to get away
Yeah.
from it.
Yeah.
And we have mountains and everything
Yeah.
in between.
That's what I hear. So you've been there since the 90s, huh?
Yeah, 94. So
Yeah.
I'm getting the hang of it. Still got my American accent though. It's not going
Yeah.
anywhere.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, thank you very much for talking to me.
No problem.
It's been great listening to the record. So I can't wait for the next one.
Yeah, I'm glad you like it. And people can just visit my website, clintmorganmusic.com, and the album is available,
Yep.
Spotify, Amazon,
Cool.
iTunes, all the usual suspects.
Yep.
Are selling the record. So there you have it.
All righty.
All right.
Have
man.
a great day. Thank you very much.
Oh, you,
We'll see
Marty.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.